To the one listener in Switzerland, just know we see you. Thanks for joining. This is probably where there should be an intro or some bumper music again, but I am not consistent and I do not know what I'm going to say. There are no show notes, but this is a really cool show we have today. It's diving into the FKT world. I said we're going to hit all these worlds because they really are part of the same world, and they're also niche between trail running, FKTs, through hiking, that I'm just going to blur the lines and share some stories from all of them because I think they're super entertaining and engaging, and I just think they're fun. That's why I've done all of them, and they can also be really good training for each other. I've used a bunch of through hiking to train for FKTs. I've used through hiking to train for ultra marathons, everything in between. So today we're going to the Pacific Crest Trail. Imagine you're in college, you're 20 years old, you hate your major, you're not really engaged, you're not having any fun, you realize you're wasting money on tuition, you're working a part-time job for the Department of Defense, and you quit it all and go through hike the Pacific Crest Trail. Oh wait, that's what I did. And so I hiked this trail. I'm with this group of friends because you become friends so quick out there. You eliminate all of life's distractions. You get to see everyone with their basic human needs. Excuse me. I'm coughing up coffee because I'm shirtless because I'm a podcaster now. I probably don't even need to wear pants anymore. So I become friends with all these people. It's my first real, probably friend interactions in my life, especially in adulthood. These friends are still friends today. It's pretty cool how quickly you just gravitate towards people, learn about them, and very diverse too. Another interview with one of these friends is coming soon, but anyways, so we get to Wrightwood, we resupply, we do everything. We travel out to Grassy Hollow Visitor Center, and we're like, dang it, why didn't we bring out like pizza, steak, beer, everything like that to enjoy town food on the trail? We're only like 1 mile from the highway, and so I say, don't worry, guys. I'm going to go back into town. I'm going to, excuse me again. We're going to go back into town. I'm going to get us some pizza and steak. And they're like, there's no way. It's almost dark. That's like impossible. But I just slipped on my Crocs, threw them into sport mode, walked to the highway, stick out my thumb. I ride straight to the pizza place, and I get pizza forever. And I walk across to the grocery store, get some soda, beer, and a steak because Nar, trail names, they're pretty funny. His name was Nar, Gnar. I requested a steak, so I got it. I walked back to the highway, stuck my thumb out, got picked up by this kid. He was 16, so I guess not that much younger than me at the time. But I got in, and he said he just got his license. His friend was in the passenger seat, and he gave me a ride back up to Grassy Hollow Visitor Center. I walked in with the pizza and steak, or walked the trail to where they're all camped out around a fire, and they said it was legendary, and thus the name Legend was born. Just impressing fellow friends out there. And that's through hiking. So this interview is kind of the style of when you meet up with a friend and just tell stories, ask about their FKTs and stuff. And the guest today is Nick Fowler. He wrote a book about the Pacific Northwest Trail FKT, and then he set the Pacific Crest Trail FKT over 50 miles a day. Pretty incredible. He was 50 minutes away from breaking the old supported time. So that is just a testament to how persistent he is, and then also kind of how self-supported can be more efficient, and you can make up time like that, especially if you have a good plan, a good system, and a good goal. And we get into some of that here. And with through hiking, and I love this style, FKTs, you have a goal, and when it's an FKT goal, you go after it with everything. But when you're training and in the meantime, and you're meeting up with friends, you can have fun. We actually went out to the Tetons, and we were going to try to hike the Teton Crest Trail in early June, but there was so much snow. We got up to the first pass and we're like, this is a bad idea. So we didn't just turn around and go back. We spent the day glissading. We would sit on our butts and slide down 500 feet on the snow, get to the bottom, turn around, hike back up, do it again. We did it all day. And then on the hike back out, we saw this frozen pool and we just sat in it. We did a ice bath that would have made Wim Hof proud. It was pretty fun. Polar plunge, I guess they call it these days. So that's Nick Fowler. He incredible. Few multiple FKTs. Wrote a book. Check out his book called Itch about the Pacific Northwest Trail FKT. And here is Nick Fowler and how thru-hikers or FKT people talk about their adventures. And it's very similar to after an ultra marathon when you chop up what went down out there. So enjoy. Now, I don't think anyone really cares, but just one more thing. I interviewed Nick. It was like 8 months ago. That's how long I've been thinking about this podcast and just building up the idea for it. So a couple of things like the mention of Thanksgiving might be a little dated, but that's part of the fun of just building yourself up to put yourself out there. So you get a little insight into, we all have trepidations. And with that, here's the interview. And it's a cold opening, so we can just jump right in. And yeah, it's pretty unofficial, but today I'm joined by legendary, renowned thru-hiker, author, FKT extraordinaire, Nick Fowler, fresh off breaking the PCT record. What's up, Nick?
Man, what an introduction. Hi, Jeff. Excited to be on here with you.
Now, our first ad read, this is a big one. So from the Bozeman Fantasy Football League, we'd just like to say that Brian Bickham sucks at fantasy football. So if you would like to have an ad read like this, maybe the price is right, send it on over. Here's the episode. How did you even stumble upon thru-hiking in general?
I mean, I guess I'd always known about thru-hiking. I've always known about the Appalachian Trail and everything, but I never really gave it any thought until, I started getting into big day hikes. And, like one day I was just curious how far I could hike. And I was like, I'm just going to hike in as far as I can. Once I get tired, I'll turn around and come back. But I did 73 miles that day. And then the next month, I was just curious, like, what's the fastest someone's ever hiked the PCT before? And then I look it up and I find out about FKTs, find out about this girl named Heather Anderson. And that's why I start getting excited about thru-hiking at the same time of FKTs. So I kind of did them both at the same time. Found out about this legendary guy named Jeff Garmeyer. And here we are.
So you dove into thru-hiking at the exact same time as you dove into FKTs, the very traditional approach?
We'll call it traditional for me.
Yeah. And now, so you've done the Pacific Northwest Trail FKT and then the PCT FKT, and then haven't you gone after a couple more, at least down where you're from?
I have the Ozark Trail FKT. And I have attempted the Ouachita Trail FKT probably 10 times. I'm embarrassing to say that, but that's what it is.
That's incredible. Was that your first attempt at any FKT too?
Yes, the Ouachita Trail was my first attempt. 3 months into running.
Wow. So how did you, well, I know that kind of the PCT has been the pinnacle and the goal for quite a while, at least in the short time of going after these things. How did you come up with a plan to build up to going for the PCT record?
So there's this guy named Carl Saba. And so whenever I know he just broke a new record on it, but when I was first looking at all this, I read an article about his training plan when he broke his first PCT FKT. And he said that he did strength training 2 days a week and then ran a marathon before work Monday through Friday, and then 26 to 40 miles a day on the weekends. And so I'm like, all right, well, if that's what Carl did, I got to do more than that. And so, I basically started with running a half marathon a day in January 2021, and then I bumped it up to a marathon a day with a couple of rest days a week in February 2021. And then March came and I was like, okay, well, how am I supposed to break the PCT record if I can't break this measly 223 mile record on the Ouachita Trail? And so I somehow believed that I could run 223 miles in 3 days. And I failed many times. Right. I basically, I attempted every week for 4 weeks in a row until I broke my foot.
Oh my gosh. So that's a good insight into your persistence there. Wow.
Yeah.
And then, so have you ever broken the Washita Trail record then?
No, no, there's something about it. Like, in fact, I wasn't originally planning on going after the Ozark Trail FKT. I think it was either my ninth or 10th attempt on the Washita Trail. Okay, so at mile 51, there's this place called Queen Wilhelmina State Park.
Yep.
I have renamed that place to Queen Will I Throw Up State Park because I puke my guts out almost every single time there, like uncontrollably, and I would just be puking all night long. And so the very last time I attempted, like I only made it like 23 miles in, and I started feeling nauseous around mile 10. And then like by mile 23, I'm like, what the hell am I going to be doing when I get to Queen Will I Throw Up State Park? This is awful. And so I'm like, you know what? I'm close enough to my car. I'll just turn around and walk back to my car. And instantly, the nausea vanished.
Oh my gosh.
So it's psychological. It's all in my head. And so I was like, all right, well, maybe this isn't the time for the Washita Trail. Let me just go after a different OT. And so I downloaded the maps for the Ozark Trail, asked a couple questions about it. Then I went after that one, and I got it.
Could you just like go the opposite direction on the Washita Trail, maybe, so that Will I Throw Up is at the end?
It's not, I've had several people ask that, but the way that trail is, like the eastern or the western side of that trail is extremely rocky and has a lot of elevation gain, and the eastern side is really flat and smooth.
Yep.
And I would rather have the flat and smooth at the end.
Okay, and the throwing up at the beginning.
Yeah, I mean, because like I just know like when I'm really, really tired, I trip over rocks more.
Yeah.
And if I'm really tired at the end, even whether I'm throwing up or not, I'm going to be tripping and falling on my face.
Fair. Okay. Yeah, it is such a funny trail because there's like 2 or 3 distinct sections on it. There's sort of that Oklahoma side, and then there's the smooth lake easy section on the east side, and then in the middle it's kind of whatever. But someday maybe. Is that your A goal for 2024?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I might have an A goal, but I haven't decided if it's. I'm still sore from the PCT.
I'd hope so. Yeah. Well, let's get into that. So you finished the Pacific Northwest Trail record and wrote a book about it. Get into that too. But when after that did you decide you wanted to go after the PCT?
Probably about a month after the PNT.
Okay.
After I could walk normal.
Yeah, and I've read your book about it too. You could not walk at all the day you finished.
It was awful. I was pretty wrecked. I was really nervous that I was going to feel the same way halfway through the PCT.
After the same amount of miles.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and that's like the halfway point, right? I think you had a post about that too, where it was like the longest you'd gone, where it was like a big day because you surpassed the PNT mileage or something like that.
Yeah, and it was like I think like 5 days faster than I did the PNT mileage, and I was still feeling good. Like I didn't have any tendonitis issues, didn't have any ankle pains. I mean, I had blisters and I was tired, but other than that, I was feeling good. So that was pretty exciting.
Yeah, when did sort of the issues come up that you texted me and other people about, and almost threw a wrench in everything? Because I know you had the winter storm as well, or the hurricane. Yeah, when did all the adversity hit? If halfway was pretty good.
It was very shortly after halfway. I mean, the first half of the PCT was almost too good. I mean, I was having an absolute blast. It was amazing. And then, let's see here. I think it was the day I got to Donner Ski Ranch, or the day before I got to Donner Ski Ranch. Like I started having dizzy spells, floaty spells. So I ended up having to take some trail naps, like throughout the day. And then I'm like my worst blister may have been beyond a blister.
Dude, your
um,
feet look so bad.
as I just it was turning colors, and I was seriously concerned it might have been gangrene for a couple days. Um, and so I just put on as much polysporin as possible, and hope that it was still there at the end of the day.
Hmm.
um, but then I started peeing red, and that's when I reached out to you. Actually, Jeff, you were the first person I called.
Wow.
Yeah,
Nice.
I was like, I'm pissing blood. What do I do?
Yeah, it's kind of happened once, but not to the degree it seemed like you were describing for me. So yeah, crazy.
It was very alarming. But I wasn't really freaking out. I knew it was a problem, and I was like, okay, how do I fix this?
Yeah. And then
I had
what did you do to fix it?
um, so I had some people that were telling me, hey, that's rhabdo, that's fatal. You need to think about getting off the trail ASAP. And I'm like, that's not the answer I'm looking for. I'm gonna keep calling people. And then finally, Joe McConaughey reached out to me and said, hey, I heard you have rhabdo. And I'm like, I don't know I have rhabdo. Who told you I have rhabdo? Um, like, cause like I wasn't having muscle cramps.
Yeah, that's why I thought it was just mostly dehydration related because the muscle stuff didn't seem to be there for rhabdo, but
Yeah. In fact, like I felt fine other than the discoloration of it, but it did go from like red, and then it would like be like super, super dark brown, and then would go to like pink. And I yeah, it just came to the point where I was like, I just need to fix this. So Joe told me that I needed more calories, I needed more water, I needed more electrolytes. And I was like, okay, well, just consume more. Awesome. Even though, I was entering the high Sierra, so I'm like, where in the world do I get more calories?
yeah, these are like the longest sections between resupplies.
Yeah. My bag was so heavy. I mean, I did a 250-mile stretch between Donner Ski Ranch and Reds Meadow, um, with the bear can. That was not comfortable at all. And then I pulled my quad in North Yosemite. So that, like, I had no downhill speed. I couldn't even run. Imagine the different types of moves I had to invent when I'm popping a squat, because I couldn't pop a squat. Like, I'd be like hanging onto a tree limb, like leaning up
Yep.
against a rock, like, then your aim gets off, like, oh, that's not the hole. It's probably
Yeah, you
too
have to
TMI.
tidy up after the fact at that point.
Right. Um,
Did the blood go away? Did
it
you
went, it did. It went away after 2.5 days.
Okay.
So Joe told me if it doesn't clear up in 1 to 2 days, a medical professional would likely tell you to get off trail. And so I was like, okay, if it continues for more than 3 days,
Hmm.
I'll get off trail. So luckily it stopped after two and a half. And then the hurricane hit.
So in this, you enter the Sierra with your stupid heavy bag, and that's when the hurricane is coming through.
All this happened in this like day after, like back after, like it was all within a 1 week period that all this stuff happened.
Wow.
It was a rough week.
Like 1,000 miles from the end.
Yeah. So I get stuck in a cave for nearly 41 hours. Hiding out the storm, and it wasn't like crazy windy or anything. It was just a lot. It was so much rain. It was insane. Like I've never seen so much rain before in my life. The entrance to the cave closed off with a waterfall, so that was pretty cool. Um,
Are you just like filling your bottle right off the waterfall while you're in the
exactly.
cave?
Yeah, I was so thirsty. I was so thirsty. So that really worked, and it was convenient because I was running out of water, and I was already in the cave, and I was like, man, it's about to be raining super, super hard. I don't want to have to go all the way back down to that stream and get water. And then all of a sudden it was just so much water that I didn't have to think about going anywhere.
So you're going along and you know this storm's gonna hit. Are you looking for a cave, or how do you end up in this cave? Did it start raining hard and you just saw it like out of nowhere?
So I had people like warning me, like, days in advance as the storm was building. And then like the day that the hurricane hit, there was a ranger that was telling me to get off trail. They were posted up at a trail junctions telling every single person, every single hiker to get off trail. Hey, this, it's no longer a tropical storm. Now it's a hurricane. They've named it. You have to get off trail for safety. Like, you need to go, wait in town for 3 days. And she was like, there's going to be rock fall. The streams aren't going to be passable. And I'm like, well, I can't stop. And then I explained to her that I'm on the FKT. And she's like, wait, so you're already depleted. Everything I just said is going to be worse. And then she asked me, what type of rain gear do you have? And I'm like, I have a $1 emergency poncho and a 4.7 ounce tarp. Which since I'm talking to you, Jeff, I had asked you before I started, should I take a poncho or should I take an actual rain jacket? And you told me to take an actual rain jacket. So at this moment, I'm thinking, I should have listened to Jeff.
But only for that section.
But only for that section. Yeah. And so as I'm going up, so eventually the ranger actually told me your FKT's over. Like, yeah. And I mean, I'm so tired at this point. Like, I get emotional, start crying. Like, she's like, all my dreams,
Yep.
And she's like, if you continue on, you're going to end up pressing your SOS button. You're going to get hypothermia and they're going to have to come save you. And they're not even going to be able to because of the hurricane. And she's like, what do you need? And I'm like, I need to keep moving. And so I just left. And then as I'm going up Mather Pass, like, it starts to get windier. The rain starts to pick up. And that's when it hits me that it's actually probably going to be a bad storm.
Yeah.
And so, I just like start praying because I'm like, I don't know what I'm praying for. I'm like, just give me something. Like, I'm hoping that the storm is just going to go away. Like, it's just going to be a little sprinkle fest and everything's going to be perfectly fine. And then all of a sudden I see a cave and I'm like, that's not going to be anywhere near the trail. Like, there's no way I can get to that. And then sure enough, it ends up being like 100 yards away from the trail. So,
wow.
I actually passed the cave because I'm like, it's too early. The storm's not super bad. I could probably make it another 6 miles today. And so I pass it. And then like 5, maybe 10, 15 minutes after I pass it, I'm like, wait, time out. What are the chances there's going to be another cave? And like, what if I do get to a stream and I can't cross it and I have to just wait it out? And then what if my tarp ends up being a kite in a hurricane? And so I go back to the cave just to check it out, see if there's a flat spot. I actually messaged you on the InReach, asking what you would do if you were in my shoes. And I'm just like waiting there. I messaged my wife, like asking her, hey, can you give me an update on the storm? Hoping that it's like, pass in like 3 hours.
No, it was like 24 hours at least, it looked like on the weather apps.
Yeah. And then it just started dumping. And after a day, the next day, it was still raining so hard that there was so much groundwater that it started raining inside the cave. So I actually had to pitch my tarp inside the cave.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, wow. What are you thinking about the success of your FKT attempt when you're stuck in a cave for 40 hours? Are you thinking it's still possible or what?
Well, at that time, I didn't know how long it was going to last for sure. Cause the ranger told me it was going to last for 3 days. And then like you gave me an update and my wife gives me an update and I'm like, okay, well, it could be a day. It could be 3 days. Like, what's it going to be? And I did have a little bit of a cushion. I had several days of cushion. So I basically, and the real tearing moment, the hard part was, do I stay in the cave or do I keep going? Like making that decision right off the bat. But it was like, I don't know, my gut was telling me to stay. And it was like as soon as I made the decision that I am staying, like this is what I'm doing. I was like, I no longer have sub 50 days. Like I can't do sub 50 days on the PCT anymore. So my whole A goal was shot. Just lost all hope for that. But I was still like, okay, I can still break the self-supported record if I have to wait this out. And I mean, most of the time in the cave was kind of a blur because I slept a lot. I I only took enough calories to get me from point A to point B, not factoring in a 41 hour delay.
Yeah.
There was a rat in the cave that ate some of my gear. And there was like a corner where it looked like another human had created like their own little bathroom area. So it was not prime real estate at all.
You didn't eat the rat though?
I should have. Why didn't I think of that? That would have been tasty. I could have been caveman style.
Big time. Yeah. So once it's been 40 hours, how do you decide when to leave the cave? Did it lighten up a little bit or?
So
Go.
Looking back on this, I'm not super happy about what happened. Because so I'm inside my tarp and it's raining inside the cave on my tarp. So like when I wake up that morning, I'm thinking it's still raining.
Uh-huh.
And I'm like, I'm just gonna go back to sleep. And then it's still raining. And then I'm like, it's been a really long time. Like, how is it still, and so I get out from under my tarp and I realize it's not raining outside. It's just raining in the cave. And I'm like, no. So I pack up super fast and I get moving. And the first big stream, it was probably a small stream originally, but the first crazy stream I get to, I look at it and I'm like, this is not passable. Like, ooh. Instantly 100%, I can't cross this. And so I'm going upstream looking for a spot to cross. I'm going downstream for a spot to cross. And then I'm getting so frustrated because I'm wasting all this time not being able to get across the stream. And finally I realize I just have to go for it. Because there is no way to cross it.
How big is it? Is it just swollen all the way across too and raging, or is it?
It's raging. It's overflowing. Like there's water that's not even in the stream. And it's a fairly narrow stream, so it's like everything's channeling down this small stream. And so I get to the narrowest spot possible, and I put everything inside because I realize everything is going to get soaking wet in trying to cross this. Like it's inevitable. And so I put everything inside my bag and I actually throw it across the narrowest part of the stream because.
How scary was that throw if you didn't make it across?
So I was really confident in the swing, but as soon as it left my hands, I was really scared. I was like, what if it doesn't make it? So it barely makes it. Like I think one of the straps was in the water when it landed. And then, and then I go to cross, and I mean, like, it was like as soon as, I don't know if it was one or both my knees were underwater, I just took me off my feet and I'm going downstream. My rocks are hitting my legs. But I did enter the stream slightly upstream where it looked easy to get out of on the other side.
Okay.
So then I grab onto something, I get out on the other side, and I'm like, phew, all right, got that done. Grab my bag, and I keep going. And then there was 3 more streams throughout the day that took me off my feet.
Wow.
Yeah, like there's so much water flow. And Jeff, me and you have crossed some pretty big streams before. Where you saw me like not hesitating. These were bad.
Wow. Yeah, and then did it continue the next day too? Because you still have like 3 more valleys before you're really out of the Sierra overflow.
So the next day, that day I made it to the base of Forester Pass.
Okay.
And so then the next day I did a 53 miler, got over Forester Pass, and I think there was only one more stream that I had difficulty with on the other side of that.
Yeah, Tyndall can kind of suck on that other side, but yeah. I think it's wider.
I don't know if it was, I don't remember the names of the streams. I was just going.
Yeah, no, with 50 miles in a day, it's all a blur.
Yeah. But I do remember when I got to that stream, I was looking at it. I'm like, okay, that might wipe me off my feet. Let me just put everything inside my bag just in case it does happen. I don't get my fanny pack soaking wet again. And because the rat chewed a hole in the fanny pack.
Oh.
Yeah. But I remember looking at it thinking, that's not as bad as the first one. We could do this. And then, of course, it barely swept me off my feet, I didn't go downstream, but it made me lose my balance and I got completely wet.
Yeah. And then so over Forester, and then within probably a day, you're past Kennedy Meadows. Does it feel like you have it at this point, or with 700 miles to go, is it still in question, I guess?
So the day I did the 53 miler going over Forester, and then the next day I did 52, um, getting to Kennedy Meadows and, getting my resupply, doing a resupply. And I even stayed in Kennedy Meadows for about an hour.
Mhm.
And my first few resupplies were only 15 minutes long. And then it's like the closer I got to the end, like the longer my resupplies were. But so, doing that with 52 miler, I still felt pretty strong. But then the next day I started peeing red again.
Oh,
And like, as I'm going over, like near Walker Pass and everything. And so, and I just get really sad. I'm only like 600 miles from the end. What if it doesn't stop? Like, what if it lasts more than 3 days this time? Because it was like even darker this time. And so I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to keep going. If it lasts for more than 3 days, I'll quit. I really didn't want to. And so I'm just trying to eat everything as possible, eat everything, drink as much as possible. I took more breaks by stream, so I was able to drink more without just moving on. I broke one of my trekking poles in the Sierra in a stream crossing. And then I lost my remaining trekking pole somewhere between Walker Pass and Bird Spring Pass.
wow.
But I'm like, you know what? I'm in the desert. It's not going to rain. I don't need it to pitch my tarp. This will be fine.
I mean, you have a skill of losing things.
It's superpower.
Yeah, it's incredible. And so, of course, it did rain in the desert, then I'm guessing.
It did. It did. So I tried to just sleep underneath my ground sheet.
Like a bivvy almost, like wrap up in it, or just have it over the top of you, flat?
I was in my bivvy wrapped up, and then I laid the ground sheet on top of my bivvy. But that was an epic fail. I was soaking wet all night long. I finally gave up around like 1:30 in the morning and just kept hiking.
Okay, nice. And then anything else of note happened from here to, I guess, through the Mojave or something?
So the day when I was going through Agua Dulce that day, the whole aqueduct section and everything, it was so freaking hot. Like, I was like, why? Okay, so it was kind of cool. I like solitude. So
Yeah.
it was kind of cool that I had the entire desert to myself, because there was no one else stupid enough to be hiking through the desert in August. Except for me. And it was man, like my hands started locking up and clenching up from the heat or dehydration. And I couldn't clip my sternum straps on my backpack. I was struggling to open water bottle lids. I was drinking water out of trash cans. It basically got to the point where I realized, because when I first came out of the Sierra, I was kind of hoping I could still break Timothy Olson's supported record.
Yeah.
But then once all that started happening, I was like, I just have to finish, and I just have to break the self-supported record. It was a real rough finish. I was exhausted.
And so you get to the finish, and is Hannah waiting for you, or what is the finish like for you?
She is waiting for me, and it's super special. So, I'll go around the corner and walking by that road that, with a mile left, and I'm going uphill, and I can see our car, and I can see the monument in the distance, and I'm like, okay, all right, Hannah's right there, and I haven't had anything to drink or eat in 8 hours because I'm out of everything. But
Typical.
I'm like, I just have to get to the top of this hill, and then I can have a cold drink because I know she's got a cooler full of liquids. And so I'm approaching. She's like 20 or 30 feet away from the monument. She opens up her arms. She starts running down towards me. We hug, and then I realize, wait, I have to finish. and so I kind of like push her out of the way. Maybe not kind of. Maybe I actually did push her out of the way. And then I go and snap a picture next to it, so the clock's done. We hug again. And then She gives me a cold Dr. Pepper, and then I take 2 more decent pictures next to the monument. Originally, I thought I was going to want to spend some time with it, at the monument and kind of soak it in. But no, we took 2 more pictures, and I was like, let's go eat. We left and ate. The only thing I regret at the end was I didn't sign the logbook.
Oh, yeah.
And I kind of wish I did. I was just really hungry.
Yeah. What would you have written in the logbook? It's just finally done.
Both. I have no idea. I was probably writing my name in the time.
Did you have to drive back to Oklahoma right after finishing too?
I did. Well, I didn't drive. I rode as a passenger.
Safe for everyone on the road. Yeah.
But we went to Phoenix and we stayed in an Airbnb in Phoenix that night.
Okay.
Yeah.
Man, that's like, it seems like, well, the PNT too, you finish and then you drive a few hours in the car.
Oh, it's awful. Awful.
Did you lock up the same way after the PCT?
Yes and no. I was moving slow, and like it took me forever to get out of a car, it took me forever to get out of a chair, out of a bed. Just walking through a grocery store was insanely slow. But it wasn't like I didn't really feel the aches. I was like in a deep brain fog.
Mm-hmm.
And some part of me wonders if the brain fog was masking the aches, because I was moving slow as if I was sore, but I didn't actually feel sore until like 2 weeks after I finished.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, like once the brain fog started lifting.
Okay. Wow. It's crazy. Yeah. I guess it's like delayed onset to the times 10 with 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
48 hours.
Yeah.
So when you're in the midst of an FKT, let's say a standard day, what is like the typical schedule? How early are you getting up? How much sleep are you getting? Are you taking breaks? How are you managing all that?
So I wanted to start off the first, 5 to 7 days slower to kind of break myself into it. But once I really started going, my goal was to be moving between 4 a.m. and 10 p.m. The only breaks I took in the first half were like 5-minute breaks here and there to address blisters, change socks, or something like that. Once I started having the dizzy spells and everything hit the fan, I was usually taking about 1 20-minute nap per day. The only exception to that would be in the desert. That one day going through Agua Dulce when it was so hot, I took a 2-hour nap inside the Big Mouth Pizza shop. That the owner of that place is super awesome. He let me take my shoes off inside. And then I took an hour-long break in the Acton KOA, just drinking cold liquids. I tried to sleep in their lobby, but they wouldn't let me sleep. They were like, no, you can sit, but you can't sleep.
Are you just sleeping whenever, like during these trail naps, whenever you're tired enough to fall asleep? Is that when you're fitting them in, or did you have a schedule?
I mean, there were some times where I was so tired where I wanted to take a trail nap at like 11 a.m., but I was like, no, I can't do that yet. I can't do that yet. I have to earn it.
Yep, exactly. Have to earn it. Okay, I have a couple superficial questions. Did you like treat your water out there, especially like the cave and stuff like that, or are you just free drinker?
I treated it when I drank from the trash can. I treated it when I got water from a couple of lakes, but that's about it.
And the rest of the time, you just treat it with respect. That's what I do too.
Exactly. I like that.
Yeah, it's the best way to treat water. And then now I'm curious on, since you took such short breaks at resupplies, how did you keep things charged or have bricks that were charged for everything?
So Washington and Oregon, I gave myself a fresh battery banks every other resupply.
Sweet.
So I didn't have to worry about charging anything. And then once I got to California, I picked up a solar panel.
And that worked pretty good, the solar panel?
And I had tested out the solar panel on the Arizona Trail and the Haiti Trail this year, so I already knew what it was capable of and what I could rely on.
Okay. Wow. That's, I mean, that's so smart, because I always think that in towns and resupplies, it's that dead time of having to charge things that can, kill a whole day over the course of a PCT. So Good
Yeah.
thinking with the solar panel.
And once when I did have the solar panel, when went into town to resupply, I did plug in, just to top things off while I was there. But it was usually I think the first place I plugged in may have been Bernie Falls State Park, and then the next place I plugged in was at Donner Ski Ranch. But I remember like when I was walking towards those places, I already had my battery bank, phone already in my hand, everything already plugged into the wall charger. So as soon as I got there, the first thing I did was I just had to plug in,
Mhm.
and instantly was charging. I didn't have to fumble through a bag or get anything out.
What did you do with the old battery banks through Washington and Oregon?
I gave a couple of them away. Um, one of them, so some of I had like just a whole bunch of old battery banks.
Mhm.
I bought a couple, but most of them were old ones that I had around the house, and some of them didn't work very well. The ones that didn't work very well, that I was like, I'm never going to use this again. I just threw them away.
Okay, fair.
Yeah.
All right. Any regrets on the gear you took other than 40 hours with the real rain jacket?
um, no. I just wish I had more food.
Yeah. Okay.
I love my gear.
I'm really curious about the food. You ate, yeah, what was the plan for the calories? Because it was crazy. And how did you get that many calories?
So I had a graduated scale. Like I started off with 5,000 calories a day, and then by the time I got to mid Oregon, I was at 10,000 calories a day.
Jeez.
And like I almost wish I bumped up to 10,000 right when I got to Oregon, because between Cascade Locks and wherever the next place I resupplied, like I remember like whenever I passed, like I wasn't planning on like detouring to like Olali Lake Resort or the Timberline Lodge at Mount Hood. But like whenever I was walking past them, I'm like, oh, that's only 0.2 miles off trail, and I can get more food. Like,
Yeah.
I'm totally gonna do that. And so like I don't hesitate going off trail when I'm right there. But like as I'm like halfway to like the lodge, I'm like, this is killing my time. Is this a mistake? Should I be doing this?
Yeah.
But I mean, I still did 57 miles that day, so I guess that wasn't too bad.
Yeah. What are you eating to get to 10,000 calories?
So probably about 5,000 calories worth of healthy stuff and about 5,000 calories worth of junk. I have like my own protein shake mix concoction that I've made. It's about 800 calories worth, which is awesome because I can drink it in like 2 minutes or less, probably 1 minute, and just pound 800 calories right away. So I had a couple of those a day. I had an oatmeal mix that I put together with chia seeds and hemp hearts. That's about 800 calories. Refried beans, Nutri-Grain bars, Nature Valley bars, granola, chocolate bars, candy, honey buns, chips, Cheez-Its. I mean, Boston crackers, nuts, trail mix, you name it.
What's your favorite thing out of that list to eat? Like, what were you looking forward to the most per day?
That answer changes throughout the trail. Because like in the beginning, like certain things didn't sound as good, and towards the end, certain things sounded better. But I do remember there was many days where I would rob my honey bun from tomorrow's food. So probably the honey bun.
Yeah, isn't that a funny concept when you're just like trying to make trades with yourself in the future? Like, I'll take a honey bun and I'll give you some peanuts or something.
Yeah.
Cool. So now, what's the deal with the book? Tell me about the book that you've written and it's coming out.
So the book is about the Pacific Northwest Trail FKT. There's a really, really cool guy named Jeff Garmeyer who wrote a foreword for it. So I appreciate that. There's a lot of learning lessons in that book because I mean it was my first through hike. I mean I was chafing so bad that I had to take my clothes off.
As I recall, within 24 hours of through hiking the trail, you were naked, basically.
Closer to 36 hours.
Okay.
Oh man, no, I was chafing so bad. Like it was not fair. It wasn't fair because I had spent all year trying to figure out solutions to chafing. And then um I still have scars. I have scars from the chafing on that trail.
Wow.
Yeah.
Even with all those microfiber towels that you would find everywhere.
Yeah. You know so much more insider knowledge about the book than everybody else is gonna know. Uh which goes back to my superpower of losing things. But the Pacific Northwest Trail is just stupid pretty. It was one of the funnest things I've ever done in my life. I realized after that I was hooked. That this is what I want to do.
Yeah. So how do you make it work? Like, what do you do for work and to afford to do all this so flexibly?
Um, I'm a fan of passive income, and so I'm a big fan of multiple streams of income. I think everybody should have multiple streams, and I also am pretty frugal. Like I don't spend money on anything unless it makes me money, saves me money, or is hiking gear.
Yeah, that's a pretty good philosophy. I like that bit at the end.
Yeah.
Cool. So when is the book out and what's next?
Book. My goal is to have physical copies out by Thanksgiving, but my promise is before the end of the year, you can get pre-signed. You can pre-order signed copies at pntbook.com. And did you ask me what's next?
Yeah, what's next? Either near future, long term, whatever it may be.
Um, well, I still have unfinished business with the Washout Trail, so I've got to get an FKT on that at some point. But I really have an itch to go after an FKT on a different trail. But
It's got to be the Appalachian Trail.
No, it's out west.
Okay. Probably the John Muir Trail.
No, it's not. It's longer than that. I'm not gonna say.
Okay, fine. I'll quit guessing. Arizona Trail. Oh well. All right. Thanks. Thanks for jumping on.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, this is fun. How are your feet doing, by the way? They looked really rough.
Um, they're still numb. They're not as numb as they were when I finished.
Ooh.
Um,
Are they raw like they were when you finished too?
they're very crusty. Very crusty, like, and they flake off, and Hannah gets mad at me because there's pieces of my feet that are all over the house. Like they come off, it comes off in chunks.
Oh, yuck.
Like in like I'll wake up in the morning and then there's chunks all over the sheets all around my feet.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. My right pinky toe is still half black. It kind of looks like it has frostbite. I don't think I'll ever grow a toenail on that toe again, and it's been missing for 2.5 months now.
Wow. Man, what a glamorous sport.
Dude, I had so many blisters. I mean, the one on my toe was the worst. But I mean, I may have told you this, I don't remember now, but I had like blisters on my heels that were forming, the blisters were forming underneath my calluses.
Yep.
And so I couldn't relieve the pressure. And so on one of them, I took my razor blade and I just sliced it open.
Wow.
And it relieved the pressure. But then like 3 days later, I was like, that was a mistake. Like,
Yeah, searing pain. Yeah.
yeah.
Wow. It's so crazy what you did on the PCT. I can't even believe you got it done like that. That's incredible.
I really wanted 750 days. But I felt like I didn't have any regrets out there that were within my control. The only regret I had, I say I didn't have any, I only had one regret, and that was I finished the trail 50 minutes slower than Carl Stava's first supported time. And if I had known that I was that close to it, I think I could have beat it. I just
15, 15 or
50, 50.
50. Okay. Wow.
But if I had known that like 4 days before ending, I would have gone 50 minutes faster for sure.
Wow. That's pretty wild. Man, self-supported. It's faster than all these ultra runners think.
But I mean, I have you seen Carl's documentary?
No. Is it on YouTube?
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Okay, I'll check it out.
I watched it 2 nights ago, and it really made me miss the trail.
Yeah, I bet the low after such a big high is pretty crazy.
I just really miss it. Now that my legs are working again. I did not go canyoneering, by the way. I think I thought I was ready, but I wasn't. Like, I can finally go up and down the stairs, not one step at a time. I ran across the house once. I'm fine. No.
Stay elite, my friends.